Hello. I'm going to tell you about a group which I was invited to join in 1977 when I was just a little over a year into starting my career as an assistant professor in the molecular biology department at the University of California at Berkeley. A small group of faculty, staff, and postdocs at the University of California at San Francisco in scientific departments were establishing this group as a forum for discussion of professional problems with others who might provide relevant knowledge, experience, insight. I wasn't sure how this would work for me, but at the time I was invited, I was the first and only woman in my department and the only member of the faculty who was not a full professor. I knew I was, for obvious reasons, a little lonely in my professional life and figured I could use some advice, so I'd give it a try. I went to one meeting, I liked it, I stayed, and now 30 years later, yes, we are still meeting, I am going to meetings every other Thursday with this group. They saw me through being denied tenure a few years after I joined the group, establishing myself in another career, and then ultimately leaving that very exciting job to write a book about group, as we call it. Now, in this venue, I'm not going to have a lot of time to discuss how we meet, how we structure our meetings, but I would like to convey to you why I think group has been so successful and why I recommend it to others, not only in academia, but in a wide variety of activities and professions and stages of life. I certainly feel that I, throughout the last 33 years, have made better decisions because I discussed the possibilities and the hopes and my hesitations with group. Now, group has always been predominantly made up of scientists, although not exclusively, and it has evolved to be consist only of women. But neither of those define its purpose. I think that the recurring themes that I'm going to tell you some of, that we come up with as professional challenges, and the strategies and solutions that we work out are really useful to a wide variety of people. They're broadly applicable. Now, our emphasis is on practical solutions to individual problems. Though we have no designated expert, we facilitate our own meetings, we take turns doing that. We have no external expert. And each person works by saying how much time she thinks she needs to present her issue and then to get the feedback that she wants. The work can vary. It can be professional or personal. You may want to make a rule in a group that it be only professional, but you'll find that there are fine lines, gray areas between those two. It can be specific, perhaps very short term. How do I solve a particular interaction with a colleague? How do I get papers written? Or it can be long term. How do I improve my health status? How do I live my life in a more relaxed and healthy fashion? Something like that. How do I find more time to consider the big picture in my profession? Now, two very important elements of the group process are illustrated when we get to the feedback section. First of these elements is that group feedback is neutral. Unlike family members, co-workers, members of group are committed to focusing just on the well-being and the best solution for the person doing the work, and without doing that without a conflict of interest. Now, that said, of course, often group members are co-workers, and then the co-worker has to work hard to put on the I am a group member hat and not worry about how someone's decision about which courses to teach or whatever might affect them. So we maintain that neutrality, and it's really important, and it's easier because it's not just one mentor, there are a group of people. The second is that it's honest. That may seem like a no-brainer, but what I mean here is that we don't make nice, not only in giving advice and recommending possible solutions, but in listening to the presentation of the problem. If we think it's flawed, or if we think it's not the most useful way to think about the problem, we say so. The person doing the work can always say, no, you're wrong, I'm right. But you need to speak what you feel. Now I've put here detect pigs. That's a piece of jargon, but I've left it in this talk because it's something that has served us well and we really work on a lot. A pig is a negative self-perception. Two examples here contain one of the identifying characteristics, which is that they often have the words always or never in them. I'm lazy and disorganized about writing papers, and I always put it off until there is a huge crunch. Well, the other element, not only does it say, oh, I'm always like this, but it characterizes you, the person, instead of just saying what the issue is. The issue is writing the papers, not whether you fail to do it because you're lazy and disorganized. So we use this identification of pigs as a way to focus on the problem. And we tried to replace the pig, once identified, with the positive side. I have lots of papers waiting to be written, not because I'm lazy and disorganized, but because I'm so productive. And my students are so fabulous, and I have this great amount of data, and now I have to work on it. So you go ahead. Now, a third element of the group process that I want to mention here is confidentiality. We are all very committed that nothing that gets said in group will be used outside of group or repeated to anyone else without specific permission from the person whose work it is, perhaps with the intention, which might be given with the intention of getting help. Okay, after a person has gotten their feedback from others, work out a strategy. This is often done in the context of a contract, a precise formulation of objectives. Much of the work in making a contract is to make it positive. It's not I'm going to stop wasting time, but I am going to schedule time to get this done. And possible. Chew it up into little bits if you need to make it possible. The contract, depending on the work, can be short-term. I'm going to do this in the next 2 weeks, or I would like to establish a pattern in my life to do this. Strokes and social time at the end, I won't mention, except to say that it's very important to keep to us to have that time, because it means that we stay focused on the formal work during that part of the meeting. Okay, I'm now going to move to just select two of the many recurring themes that we have that have come up to describe to you a little bit of what we do, what we talk about. 15 of these recurring themes, things that come up again and again in the work, form 15 chapters of the book. So the first one I'm going to elaborate on is accepting, liking, celebrating, appreciating ourselves, and being entitled to success. This is work about forgiving ourselves, that's the accepting part, and then forgiving our mistakes, and then moving on from there to celebrating our achievements, which in turn requires a sense of entitlement. I'm going to read briefly from the book to explain the quote, "Maybe I am the Queen of Sheba." Groups' focus on self-celebration and entitlement arose not from abstract discussions of attaining personal happiness, but rather from practical work on professional survival. To do a job well, people must be able to ask for all that they want and need without apology. That stance requires a sense of entitlement that we often lack. One person told us that when she thinks of making a request, she hears her mother reproving, "Who do you think you are, the Queen of Sheba?" This is the childhood message of don't ask for too much lest you seem greedy. We suggested instead this affirmation, "Maybe I am the Queen of Sheba," to prepare for making a request or a demand. This has become a group catchphrase. Whatever we need, a salary increase, equipment, secretarial help, we have to be unequivocal in our belief of the validity of the request. There will be plenty of negative energy from other sources, and we shouldn't contribute to it. Now, a contract on this subject could, for example, include the sentence, "I will act as if what I want is most important." A lot of the work on accepting, liking, celebrating, and is recognizing your achievements at the end of the day when nothing that you did was on your to-do list or seemed to be on your job description, to remember and list briefly what you've done. Another part then goes on to making your achievements, taking credit for your achievements in a public forum, which is important to our success in most careers. The second recurring theme that I've chosen is choice and change, making choices with belief in your right to make them. Now, it's a fundamental of human psychology that change is stressful no matter how positive it is. And many groups, I think, work on the principle of trying to encourage people, help them through change that needs to be made or has already been decided upon. We do some of that, egging people on through something that they already know they're going to do but is scary. But we try much more to focus on identifying when there are choices to be made and deciding which ones can be made, what is possible. It's interesting to note that a change that you make through personal choice can be, in fact, more stressful than one that is just forced upon you, because although there's a much greater possibility for a positive upside, satisfaction, it's also all on you if something goes wrong, because you've made the choice. And the quote here, making a different choice doesn't mean the ones you made before are wrong, has been a highlight of career changes. Oh my gosh, was all of my training to waste because I decided to do something else? Okay, I'm just basically going to list a few other of these recurring themes, which each merit a chapter in the book. Managing time and establishing equilibrium, problem for most of us. Institutional politics and strategy, something none of us had any training in, but had enormous effect on our careers. Writing, giving talks, I've already alluded to that one. Taking care of ourselves. Life as a limited resource. It is an important thing, not just something to do after we've finished our work, to take care of our bodies, our minds. Family ties and obligations, the much discussed issue of balance between personal and professional life. And lastly, respect your personal instinct, your goals, your creativity. Recognize that what you think and feel about your endeavor, whatever it may be, is important. Now, this group of people, these women who are in the group I've described, have maintained group, and it's not always easy to maintain it, for over 30 years as a matter of personal survival. Why then have we felt that it's important to share this, to possibly breach the limits of confidentiality that we take so seriously, to have this book in existence, and to tell other people about some of our professional problems? And one reason is that minorities, including women, most often cite isolation and marginalization as a reason that they avoid or drop out of after starting engineering, math, science careers at research institutions. It would be a shame, given the needs of society to utilize all the available talent, if half to two-thirds of that talent, of those people, are discouraged from pursuing these fields to their highest levels. So group can help. It combats these things. I think it's a good idea. I'd like other people to try it. So in closing, group provides a forum for practical problem solving for individual issues, an antidote to isolation and competition. I put the swimming with sharks metaphor in here in my logo. Celebration, solace, shared experience. I am not alone. I am not crazy. And in a condition of complete confidentiality. So you're safe when you're having these discussions. Group is about the power of not going it alone, and that is an enormous source of power. Thank you.